Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. Moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue. The original mantra of modern conservatives, pronounced in 1964 by Barry Goldwater to the Republicans who nominated him, whose successors seem to have just repudiated him and that conviction. In our third story, denouncing the defense of liberty as extremism in the desperate effort to make something, anything, stick against Supreme Court nominee Sonia Sotomayor. Her confirmation hearing set to begin next Monday. The newest Democratic Senator, Al Franken, meeting with the judge today, but Republicans are trying to hone their attack. The ranking Republican on the Judiciary Committee, Senator Jeff Sessions, griping again about Sotomayor's former position on the board of directors of the Puerto Rican Legal Defense Fund, saying the organization is extreme because it filed some, wait for it, race discrimination lawsuits. Senator Sessions might not want to acknowledge it, but race discrimination is illegal. And even if Sessions were right, Senator Goldwater would have admonished him. Besides, the Legal Defense Fund has written to Sessions explaining that, quote, neither the board as a whole or any individual member selects litigation to be undertaken or controls ongoing litigation. In another letter to Sessions from 25 Latino groups criticizes him for mischaracterizing such civil rights work and trying to create ethnic animosity. Meantime, Judiciary Committee Chair Patrick Leahy released an analysis of just how moderate to conservative the judge is on criminal justice. She reversed only 2% of criminal case convictions, and in 400 criminal cases, she agreed with the Republican-appointed judges 97% of the time. A new Washington Post analysis, meantime, looks only at the close cases, ones in which Sotomayor's Second Circuit issued a divided ruling, but her positions were mainstream in those, like other judges appointed by Democrats. And yet another study, this one from the Brennan Center, concludes that Sotomayor is squarely within the mainstream of the Second Circuit. Her decisions joined by the full court 94% of the time. Indeed, former FBI Director Louis Freeh, a self-avowed conservative, endorsed Sotomayor, will testify on her behalf next week, along with former New York District Attorney Robert Morgenthau. Republicans will call to testify against the nomination Frank Ricci, the New Haven, Connecticut firefighter at the center of a discrimination case, the one in which many legal scholars believe Sotomayor simply followed prevailing law and then watched as the Supreme Court changed that law. And the American Bar Association has now given the judge its highest rating, well qualified. It had graded Clarence Thomas only qualified. And even Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has now said, quote, I honestly think I could vote for her. Let's turn now to Washington Post reporter, author of the political blog The Fix, Chris Cillizza. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
We might also note about Mr. Sessions, when he was then U.S. attorney, he was considered for the federal bench. This is 23 years ago, but he was rejected by the Republican-controlled Judiciary Committee because he had what they perceived as open hostility to civil rights issues. Even a senator from his home state voted against him. Is the Sessions stance on Sotomayor about his own agenda more than it is about some chance of raising legitimate questions about her or derailing her nomination?
Let me say first, Keith, I have not talked to the senator about it, so I'm not going to get into divining his intentions. Here's what I will say, though. I think Republicans are in a tough place. Jeff Sessions, Mitch McConnell, the leader of the party, John Cornyn, the head of the campaign committee, for two basic reasons. On the one hand, the base of the party wants a very strong case to be made against Sotomayor. They believe some of the statements she made in the past about legislating from the bench, about the wise Latino remark that we've made so much of, that these are things that fundamentally disqualify her. On the other hand, John Cornyn especially understands, being from Texas and being in charge of the Senate campaign committee, that it does not look good from someone who has, as you've just listed, the ratings, very qualified ratings, a Hispanic woman for the Republican Party to be out attacking, because in the end, they're very likely not to win that argument, because you've got 60 seats, Senate seats for Democrats, and it's going to alienate the Hispanic base further from the Republican Party.
Even if they choose to polish up their own so-called ideology in the questioning, even if they go for the idea of, get the base worked up, is that going to be more difficult than they're imagining here regarding the nominee because of those, the records that we just went through? And also, is the Ricci case their main course? And it's not like she was the judge who personally passed that thing along.
I would say there's two thrusts that they're going to make. The Ricci case is going to be one, and I would group the wise wise Latino remarks in there. What does she think ethnicity and race plays a factor? The other is going to be the comments made on that panel that we've seen ad nauseum on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen it since the day she was nominated about the role that an appellate court plays in making the law. Again, I just keep coming back to this. We talk about it, and Republicans talk about it and talk about it, but at the end of the day, you're looking at 58 pretty solid. I haven't heard any Democrats or the people who caucus with Democrats, and I say that they might vote against Sotomayor. I say 58 because we've got Bob Byrd and Ted Kennedy both ill and maybe not voting. There's going to be a few. When you've got Lindsey Graham, he's not exactly a moderate senator. When you have Lindsey Graham out saying, I think I could vote for her, there's going to be the Olympia Snows, the Susan Collinses of the world, the George Voinoviches, for example, from Ohio. She's going to get that number. So I think some of it it's a mistake, I think, for Republicans to play this out too much because it's to their detriment in the Hispanic community.
Yeah, and it might be a good idea to look at the very obvious. If the main case against her includes the word reachy in it, it might in fact be a reach. Chris Cillizza of the Washington Post. Thanks as always, Chris.
Thank you, Keith.